We're going to begin this hour with a very poignant story, from the daughter of two of the greatest literary minds of the 20th century. Poet, painter, and author, that would be Frieda Hughes, whose parents were acclaimed writers Ted Hughes and Sylvia Plath, has lived a life haunted by loss. But in Wales, she says she built the home she longed for as a little girl, an unexpected oasis where she has found stability and she's found purpose. And she told Anthony Mason it was a chance encounter with a bird. Yes, a bird that changed everything.
It's beautiful, this gate.
Thank you.
When Frieda Hughes moved out into the Welsh countryside, she planned to paint, write poetry, and plant a garden.
A lot of it needs culling. The lilies have gone mad.
But she didn't expect to be adding an aviary. It's where she keeps her growing family of rescued owls.
You have how many of now?
15.
15 owls.
Yeah, I didn't mean to have 15 owls, and I never intended to have owls.
They include Merlin, Eddie, brothers Charlie and Max, and Widfa, a snowy owl with a damaged wing. But the bird who started it all wasn't an owl. It was George.
I was so smitten with this magpie.
Why?
It's very hard to resist a creature that makes you the center of their life and their attention.
Mm-hmm.
Hughes' latest book, George, a Magpie Memoir, chronicles her relationship with the bird, who fell from his nest during a storm in 2007. Hughes nursed George back to health.
Everything I did, I'd be cooking, I'd be painting, I'd be writing, George was there. After 2 months, George started to fly properly. He could make the end of the room.
I'm going to get it.
And he would always fly back to me. There is something really magical when a bird just flies back to you. Not because you're saying, look, you're starving, I've got food. But just because you're you. That's really bewitching.
George was a mischievous magpie.
I'd be sketching him and then he'd fly over, land on the page and be trying to pull the lines off as if they were three-dimensional.
He also liked to play with peas.
He'd pick them up and he'd pace around you, find a gap or a pocket or in the cuff of your sleeve, and he'd start stuffing peas in there. And then he'd look at you saying, okay, now react. So do something, play with me.
Hi there, George, you want to play?
Did you need George in some way?
There's a very good question. Yeah, I think I probably did.
Her marriage was unraveling at the time. But every conversation with Hughes ultimately goes back to her childhood and to her parents.
My father being Ted Hughes and my mother being Sylvia Plath, it was don't talk to your friends at school about the family.
Renowned poets Ted Hughes and Sylvia Plath were a literary it couple when in 1963, Plath died by suicide. Young Frieda, who was 2, learned to keep secrets as a child.
Because of my mother dying the way she died, it was my job to be the happy, very level person. And so my secret was often, don't tell anybody when you feel bad.
Why do you think you felt like you needed to be that way?
You know that thing about rescuing animals?
Yes.
I kind of want to save people too, and sometimes from me.
Yeah.
So, I didn't want to be a burden.
That's a lot to carry.
Yeah. As a child, I was very conscious of my father having a tough time.
Her restless father moved constantly. Wherever he went, Hughes writes, my younger brother Nick and I followed like 2 trailing limbs. Hughes attended a dozen different schools. Her father asked her once if she was angry her mother had taken her own life.
I said, how could I be angry? Because she was in so much mental anguish that she felt she had to go. Why would I be angry with her?
That she left you behind.
Well, I'm very glad she didn't take me with her.
I mean, in any way, do you think you've been trying to work that out?
There's only an understanding that it happened and I have to accept it one way or the other. It's how I accept it that is going to affect the way I move on in my life in the future.
Hughes' father died from a heart attack 25 years ago. Her brother would also die by suicide in 2009.
I have bad moments, I have sad moments. And then it is a case of, if I don't pull myself together, who's going to do everything?
Hughes' home in Wales is her antidote to her itinerant childhood, a safe place where she has put down roots.
The tree is spectacular.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
That's been here for over 250 years. I sort of built the garden around the tree because this was just a field when I came here.
Her house is also her art gallery.
I'm really enjoying doing the rocks at the moment. I love the rocks.
Painting for Hughes is more than therapy.
It's a necessity.
It's a necessity. How?
I don't want to go from the beginning of one year to another without having something physical to show that I actually lived during that year. That's one of my old frames.
If Frieda Hughes seems full of surprises, there's still one more. The woman who raises owls and writes poetry also races motorbikes.
I live among some of the best roads in Great Britain.
There's some pretty scary curves out here, though.
That's why they're lovely roads. You don't want a straight line. Anybody can go in a straight line.
She's the streak that flies through the Welsh countryside. A rider who has learned how to take some of life's trickiest turns.
I feel that I want to live with all the energy that I can muster to the best of my ability, because somebody in my family has to be left to do that. And I think by doing that and doing the best that I can, I honour them.
Remarkable
Beautiful
woman,
shot,
right?
yes.
But incredible home,
Yeah.
amazing artist, poet. It's just everything she touches. And a really good motorbike rider, too.
So many twists and turns in her life, though,
Yeah.
Anthony.
And I think in so many of them, she's dealing with what happened to her mother and to her father. It's obviously still a factor. She says actually she has what she calls a blank space in her childhood where she doesn't remember anything. And I think that's the period she just blocked out because she didn't want to recall it.
When did the motorcycle riding come into the picture?
I'm not sure when that started, but it's a big part of her life. She's devoted to it and she does it a lot. And as you can see, she's really good at it.
Also fascinated by the owls. And the scenery was so beautiful.
It's
Wow.
stunning. The owls
Wow,
are
wow.
just breathtaking.
Yes. Thank you, Anthony. Always good to have you, always. George, a Magpie Memoir is on sale now wherever you like to buy your books. And if you or someone you know is struggling, please, here's a number for you to call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. It's at 988. Again, very easy to remember, 988.